Well, I think it's, at least for a month now, it feels good to sit here on a Monday, come off of a win and talk about a win. But with it all, again, really proud of our guys and the effort that they put forth in the game. Extremely physical game in all three phases when you look at it, which is what we thought it would be. Oregon State's a very good football team, well coached, play hard, and I thought our guys really matched the physicality that was needed in that game. The discipline in which we played was a little disappointing, and something that already has been addressed and will be addressed. I mean, we were flagged 14 times in the game, 8 of which were accepted, which is an amazing amount of penalty flags. So that's getting addressed already. I thought the turnovers, as we always have touched on, were a big factor in the ball game. When you can create the 4 interceptions and only throw 1 of which, I wish we could have back. We just kind of run through the route and you catch that slant, and we should have no turnovers. But the effort was really good. You think about the fumble by Kendall Taylor, and Cody Bruns is there to recover it in the end zone for the touchdown. The effort to get around the ball. John Timu's interception, although called back for the penalty, we saw Princeton Fuimuano's effort to recover that ball in the end zone. So our guys were really flying around and playing hard. The execution was better, but not to where we need to be. So, like we said to the team, there's going to be plenty of stuff for us to continue to improve upon this week if we want to go down and win at Cal. And it's going to be a great challenge for us. National audience, national television. In a ball game that I'm sure they're going to be fired up for, and it's a challenge for us as you look at our history on the road and what we've more so what we've not been able to get done on the road is really what's being addressed in our approach, our focus, and what it's going to take to go get a win against a tough Pac-12 opponent like it is every week.
They have the same short week, but how does the shorter week impact what you do in the week of preparation?
Well, it's not going to affect us too much because it's a night game there Friday night. So we'll treat Tuesday, Wednesday exactly the same. Thursday will be a little lighter load than we normally would have for a normal Thursday. And then we're going to do what would be our Friday walkthroughs. We're actually going to do those Friday morning, the day of the ball game. So we should be okay.
Sark, I know there's a lot of debate, the pros and cons of your decision to throw late in the game. People are still talking about it. I was curious about how you see your evolution as a play caller. I know you talked about that internal debate. What would the quarterback and you do, the offensive coordinator, what would the head coach do?
That was total head coach mode. I was trying to win the game. I go through all the scenarios myself all the time as the games, after the ball games, okay, what would I do differently here, there, whatever. And I'm as extremely critical of myself as anybody would I do this differently, that differently. I wouldn't have done one thing different in that scenario, quite honestly. If we convert a first down there, the ball game's over. Even though they have 3 timeouts, the game's over. We can run the ball 3 times, make them use all 3. If we score, great. If we don't, they're out of timeouts. We kick the field goal, the game's over. When we got to the 3rd and medium there, when they jumped off sides on the 2nd down, with a minute and I believe 15 seconds left of the game roughly, the goal was to get a first down. We could have easily ran it and gotten 2 yards. They used 1 timeout. They still have 2 timeouts remaining, and all they need is a field goal to tie the game at that point. If it were a touchdown game, that's a different scenario. So, maybe I should consult to some of my mentors if they would have handled it differently, but I sure wouldn't have. If I could do it all over again, I'd do it the exact same way. And we had a good play call. We just couldn't make the play.
Do you have a dialogue maybe with Coach Keesaw or with other offensive coordinators during the week, or is that something that you normally would do prior to thinking about your game plan and your scripting?
As far as?
Just in terms of different situations like that, would you consult guys like either during a timeout or
sure? That goes without saying, definitely.
You mentioned the penalties. In general, then, you feel like those were sort of legitimate, and the crowd obviously wasn't real happy about some of those?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have to be careful here. I want Larry Scott to like me all the time, not some of the time. So, I think that Some of the penalties, sure. The majority of them, sure. I agree with. There's other ones that are questionable. And just like and when you talk about beauty, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder, sometimes judgment calls get made by officials, and it's the way they see it, the way they interpret it. I necessarily don't have to agree with all of them, but ultimately it's their call, and that's their job, and you want an explanation of why things get called, and then you move forward. And I think we've learned that from the past. You can't get stuck harboring thoughts about penalties and then the game's going on right in front of you. So you have to move past it. You control what you can control. You want to get an explanation so you don't do it again in the future, and then you move forward.
Anything in particular you're doing differently to try to cure these road woes this week?
Well, we've got a few things. But more than anything, it's understanding what the challenge is and embracing it. It's not something to shy away from. It's a great opportunity for our football team to mature, to take another step in the right direction of understanding the focus that's needed when you go on the road as a team, the business-like mentality that you take when you go on the road as a team, the understanding that you're going into a hostile environment. It's really the 70 players plus staff plus whatever family members can find their way there to wherever we're playing. That's what you have. That's all you have. And you can't rely on the 60,000 or so fans like we can at CenturyLink. And so we have to find that energy from within and play disciplined football and good execution and physical football, all those things that add up. But understand where that energy has to come from. It has to come from within. We can't rely on outside sources.
Steve, do you agree with the idea that because of the momentum and energy and enthusiasm that are coming out of this game, that maybe a quicker week this week, playing Fridays, maybe good for you guys if you want to get out there and play right away?
Well, I think from a health standpoint, I don't mind it as much because we're not – the injuries that we've already sustained are the ones that we have, and the guys are out for the season for the most part, and so we didn't really sustain anything new. We got bumped and bruises like you do in a normal football game, but we should be a relatively healthy team from the guys that we have on our active roster. I don't know. Somewhere in here, whoever invented the great game of football thought that 7 days, in between games is what it was supposed to be. That doesn't mean that it has to be that way every time. And we're seeing short weeks in the NFL. We're seeing extended weeks, and we're really not making that big deal out of it. We understand we're playing Friday night at 6 o'clock, and we have to do everything in our power to prepare for that kickoff. We'll be ready to play. We just need to do a good job of utilizing our time and our time management, not only from a coach's standpoint, but the player standpoint. And we're in the midst of midterms right now and different things going on from the player's perspective too. So it's just utilizing our time really well to get prepared.
Steve, how much more aggressive has your secondary been on the ball? That's a big difference.
Well, I think we're growing in confidence. I think Desmond Trufant has had a lot to do with that. He's played at such a high level all year. I think that's helped Marcus Peters really mature, as we've seen that here in the last couple of weeks. And not that he's been perfect, but he's gotten better. I thought Sean Parker had his best ball game the other night. Justin Glenn's been relatively steady. I think if he could do it all over again, he'd love to have that deep ball back that down on our sidelines and make the decision either to intercept it or go for the hit. He kind of got stuck in between of trying to hit the ball and hit the man, and it's hard to do both. But I just think that their confidence is there, and they're believing in the calls. It's we came in with a new system, and there's a lot of communication that takes place, and they're communicating, and we lined up and played well the other night. That was a lot. That had a lot to do with it as well. If you don't line up right and you don't communicate well, it's hard to be aggressive and make those plays. But our alignments were really good, our communication was good, and ultimately we made our plays and we got our chances.
Is it numbers-wise, the Arizona game, I guess, is the outlier, but is your pass defense surprising, given you normally have that?
I don't know if it surprised us. I thought our secondary was going to be good. Even back in spring football, they had a really good spring, and then it carried over into fall camp. I'd like our pass rush to continue to improve. We got some rushes the other night, which was encouraging, that I think a couple of which forced some errant throws. So we just have to continue to work at it to find consistency that way, because that'll only make us better in the back end.
Take away the Portland State game, your offense hasn't gotten over 21 in any game this year. How much of that is the defenses you feel like you face, or in the struggles of the offense?
It's all on us. It's on us. We just, granted we played some pretty good teams, but our inconsistency is just glaring to me. And it's not one guy. It's not two guys. I just feel like we keep taking our turns, and sometimes it's the play call that takes his turn. That it takes 11 guys executing on every snap to win that snap. And for whatever reason or another, we just stub our own toes with mistakes that we shouldn't really be making, so that's the fight for us. I know that we're better than the way we've been playing. I'm waiting for the game to come when we put it all together and we play consistently disciplined football and executing plays, down after down after down, because when we do, we'll be pretty good, and it's never too late to get there. And so, change is inevitable. You're either going to get better or you're going to get worse. And so, the goal for us, obviously, is to get better and to continue to work towards that.
You had such a stretch of top performance. Is there a different nature now in some of these games that the team can't let down?
Heck no. I mean, you watch this conference, and week in and week out, you never know what's going to happen. You better come ready to play, and it doesn't matter if you're at home or on the road. You better come ready to play, because there's good teams in this conference. There's good coaches. There's a lot of talent, so there's definitely no letdown. If you ask the players.
That said about your offense, some of your biggest offensive plays have kind of come at the late in the Stanford game, and then that game when you made big plays down the stretch to score, and then kind of held them off defensively. Do you notice anything with the way you guys seem to really rise to the occasion late in some of these games? Either on the sidelines?
Well, I think some of it's been the coaches have done a really nice job of identifying some things that we're getting defensively and ways to attack it. I think that there's a little bit of a different mentality when you need to make a play late in the game, and hopefully we can get that mentality shifted earlier in the ball game. The need the want to make that play down the field. We obviously saw Kaysen again the other night with some big plays down the field in the fourth quarter. So I think it's all of that adding up. Our aggressiveness and the way we attack people. We've always tried to pride ourselves on putting together good game plans, good first 15 plays in our script. For whatever reason this year, they haven't been as good. That doesn't mean that we're just all of a sudden going to change, and we're going to stick to what we believe in and how we do things. And I touched on it last week in talking about Mike Riley, but I think that it's a real credit to Coach Riley and his staff and what they've been able to do of continuing doing what they do and do what they do best. And ultimately, it's been really successful for them this season. And so we're not just going to scrap our playbook and go run a different offense. We're going to continue to get better at what we do. And there'll come a game when we put it all together, and we'll hit the stride and we'll get rolling here to close out the season. I just hope that game starts this week and not later.
Stevens threw the catches in the fourth quarter. Didn't appear that he was open when the ball was released. Is that the kind of thing that you're trying to get Price to do, is believe in play call handling?
Exactly. When you've got a talent like Kaysen Williams one-on-one, it's trusting him that he's going to go make that play, because that's his game. Kaysen isn't a guy that's going to create 5 yards of separation with speed. That's not the way he's set up. He's a really strong guy. He's got tremendous leaping ability, a 7-foot high jumper. He's strong, 215 pounds or so. He's got great body control when the ball's in the air. And so we need to understand that that's his game. And so the types of throws that we make to him have to be ones that allow him to do what his strengths are, and not throw the ball out in front to where he's going to run underneath it so much, but rather to where it becomes more of a contested 50-50 and allow Kaysen to defeat the man that's playing with him one-on-one.
Steve, just the family, it seems like during the season there's just been a kind of an emotional roller coaster, a lot of highs and lows in some games. How has the team been kind of emotional? I mean, I know you'd like to kind of keep it consistent week in and week out. How has that been for you guys?
Well, I think just like everybody, you know, I touched on after the game. That was a long week last week. It had been a long month. You know, we you know, this is what we do. This is our lives. I mean, I don't know anything different than Husky football right now, and it's unfortunate because I love even watching our other sports. And I had to ask Jim McLaughlin 5 minutes ago how they did this weekend, and unfortunately they didn't do great. You know, so you get immersed in this, and whether it's the coaches or the players, you immerse yourself into this thing to the point of you want success for your players and your kids because they work so hard. And then when they achieve it, when they get it, you don't want. I won't let them breathe a sigh of relief because that's not okay. That the expectation level is to go win that ball game, and now we have to recreate that. And you can't recreate that if you're basking in the glory of one win. You have to move on and prepare the same way you prepared the week before, whether it's mentally, physically, or emotionally. You know, wipe the slate clean and put together a game plan that's conducive to going to play the Cal Bears and then ultimately go play a fast, physical football game and improve upon the things from the week before that were issues. The penalties being one, the execution on the offensive side of the ball being another.
When you hire like a Tosh and you saw stuff away from like one of the rival schools, is it a different process maybe than Wilcox? I mean, is there an awkwardness to picking up a long ball by a rival school?
You know, it's our profession, and it's just the protocol of the way things are done. You know, anytime you're hiring members in your staff, ultimately, I'm the head football coach at the University of Washington, and my job and my obligation is to do what's best for this university and for this athletic department and this football program. And do it with good ethics and within the guidelines set by the NCAA. And so no coach ever likes to get the phone call, because I get them too when somebody says they want to talk to one of your coaches that you think is a really good coach. But you understand that it's part of the profession, and you do everything in your power to keep them if you want to keep them. And if you're on the other side, you try to do everything in your feasible power to get them to come on board. I mean, that's just the way it works. I really try not to put too much into it. And a credit, you know, last week we had Keith Hayward, and this week it's Tosh and Eric. Those guys don't want this to be about them, believe me. Keith didn't want it to be about him last week, and Tosh and Eric don't want it to be about them this week either. It's about our football team and the journey that we're on this season and what we need to get done this week to be successful.
Given the depth chart, Bill and Justin kind of more at this point, is there a health issue or a play issue?
No, they just did certain games. Some guys are going to play more than the others, you know. Will didn't get a bunch of playing time last week. Justin was playing well. Sean was playing well. So it varies some from week to week.
Anything else from anybody? All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.